Hi again, and sorry it's like two in a row today, but someone just messaged me about a message that I'd used quite a while back, and they just wanted me to go through some of these things, and it was about just preparing for marriage and just some things to look out for before you get married. So there's a few points here, so I don't know if I'm going to get through all of them, so we might have to do two of these. So I'll do one now and see how far I go. So dating and marrying an unbeliever is a mistake 100% of the time. So if you're a believer, a Christian, if you call yourself a Christian, make sure that you are following God's principles for your marriage. If you're not going to do that, then God can't bless your marriage. Don't expect for God to bless your marriage and be in the center of your marriage if you're going to marry that is someone who is totally different faith to you, or who doesn't believe, who's like blasé about church or not interested in going to church, and that because very seldom do people change. When you get married, it very seldom happens. So you're setting yourself up for trouble if that's the way that you're going to go. So rather just stick to God's principles straight down the line. And then remember that marriage is a reason to leave your parents and start your own family. So you need to make sure that both of you, that your prospective partner has got a good relationship with their folks, but that those relationships are not the controlling relationship. Because if they've not cut their ties with their parents and willing to leave them and cleave to you, then there are going to be problems down the line. Now, don't cause unnecessary problems and force them to do things that they may not be ready for, but just be prepared. That remember that when you get married, you are leaving your family behind. It no longer are they part of your nucleus thing. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that you need to get rid of your family and never see them again or anything like that, but you need to make sure that the two of you are in the center. So if you draw a circle and draw 3 or 4 circles and look at who are in those circles. So if you draw in the center, it's got to be God and the two of you first. That's it, in that circle. And no one else is allowed in that circle. Okay, now before you get married, you'll see in that circle it's you and your parents are in that center circle. Now when you get married, your parents move out into the next circle. Okay. So they're there, and they're allowed to come in and out, or you allow them to come in and out as you both decide when that happens. But remember that you're starting your own family. So it's good to have your parents with you to help you and encourage you and be there, but make sure that you are together in developing a family, just the two of you. And then think twice before you marry a guy who has never left home and lived on his own. Now, I know that there's, like for instance, I left home for about 3 years and then went back and stayed with my folks. And so I was in my I was about 28 when I went back home. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not saying that every guy that has stayed at home and never lived on their own is problematic. But if they've never learned to take care of themselves, if they've never lived on their own, so they've never learned how to cook, they've never learned how to iron, they've never learned how to clean the house, keep their places clean and tidy. If they've never learned to do that, then what is going to happen is that when you come into that home, they are going to expect you to do everything like you're going to be their mother. So just be prepared that if they haven't done that and they haven't lived on their own, there are some guys who are still quite capable of picking those things up and doing those things, but just make sure that you are willing to understand that if often guys who've just stayed home, I mean, if the guy's like 28, and he's never left home, and he's never lived on his own, and he's never been able to take care of himself, then just watch out for that, because the guy's you're going to be his mother. So yeah, just watch that. Just watch for that one there. Okay, let's see here. The decision of who you're going to marry should be decided before physical contact. So just be careful about jumping into physical contact straight off the bat, especially if you've been in previous relationships. And remember that every new relationship, you pick it up from the previous one. So where you left off the physical contact on that relationship, that's where you'll start with the next one. The preparation and dating time goes much shorter for each relationship as you go. So just be careful with that, and rather take your time before you get into physical, because once you get into the physical side of things, it can become problematic, and you can start developing soul ties and emotional connections that are much harder to break. So you want to kind of avoid that kind of stuff. And then take your potential spouse to a radical church and see how they react, and see if they are okay with that. See how committed they are to church. Are they going to church? Do they go to church? Are they involved? Speak to their pastor about them. Find out, what they do. How do people react to them? How do people feel about them? How do people speak about them? Are they respected in their spiritual community and things like that? If you start hearing strange things, and that doesn't mean that it's necessarily true, but just evaluate the advice that you get from people. I mean, if there are 5 or 6 people saying to you, "No, look, that guy or that girl, stay away from them," don't listen to that advice. Learn to take advice from people who can, if it's wise advice and real. I mean, not everybody that gives you advice is necessarily going to be the right advice. So, I mean, just take me, for instance. If I'd taken advice that everybody gave me before I got married, I would never have married Mandy, and she would never have married me. We evaluated that advice and knew that what God wanted for us was the right thing, and that's what we did. And make sure that you both understand the roles in marriage according to Bible standards. So make sure that both of you understand what your roles are as men and women. So what is the man? What is your expectation as a man? What is your expectation as a woman? What are the roles? And remember that you need to clear those expectations up before you get married. You need to understand who's going to be doing what is expected. Don't go into marriage without dealing with the expectations that you have of each other. Because often I've found in marriage counseling that when people struggle with issues, it's because of dealt with or unspoken expectations. And so this is what happens. If you come from a home where, say, your mom and your dad worked, and when your dad came home, he got fully involved, okay? Say as the woman, I'm talking to the woman. So you grew up in a home like that, and your mom and dad worked. When your dad came in, got fully involved in the family, did everything together, washed dishes, cleaned the house, helped with the kids' homework, etc., etc. And so both of them were fully involved. When you get into marriage, you're going to expect your husband to do that. Now, if he comes from a home where both or the mother didn't work, or even if both parents worked, and dad came home and just put his feet up and expected the mother to serve him, then what do you think he's going to expect when you get married? He's going to expect you to do. Now, obviously, it doesn't always work like that, okay, because that's the kind of home I grew up in, and it took me a while to adjust to that, because I did expect, in the beginning, I did expect Mandy to kind of serve, but as I grew and changed, it changed completely, because I realized that wasn't the biblical way. In fact, it should be the other way. I should be serving her and not expecting her to serve me. So, but be careful of that. Make sure that you understand what's expected of each other, because if you don't, those things will come up a little bit later, and then it might be a little bit harder to deal with them than when you're married. Make sure that your potential partner is a hard worker. So what kind of work, do they go from job to job to job? Are they always losing their jobs, or they're always, out of work, or they're always struggling? Is there always problems at work? Are there constant issues and hassles and stuff like that? Be careful with it, because those things don't. If you're seeing red lights now when you're dating the person, those things aren't going to go away when you get married. They get worse. So listen to your intuition, listen to that inner voice, because sometimes that inner voice is telling you, whoa. I mean, I don't know how many times I've had people on the couch with me, and they telling me that, there were these red lights flashing, and I never paid attention, and now I'm stuck in this thing. So just be careful of that. Then check their friends, who they hang out with, what kind of stuff is going on, who do they fellowship with? Where do they hang out? What is their favorite hangout place? I mean, is their favorite hangout the pub? Do they go from work? Is that where they go straight away before they even come home? Or if they come home, kiss you hello, and then off they go to the pub to meet their mates. So just watch that, and who the people they're hanging out with, who are their friends. If their favorite friend is a guy that's got a major reputation of a womanizer and a drunkard and all that, then you need to kind of just cut your losses, really, because you're setting yourself up for disaster. Now, here's a one that you're going to maybe fight me over, but just listen to what I say. Look at your future mother-in-law, because that's an example of what your wife will be like later on in life. And then watch how he treats and speaks to his mother, because that's how he will treat and speak to you. Your wife will be very much like her mother. Okay, in a lot of ways. And don't just look at the bad stuff, because often we say, oh, geez, my mother-in-law, I love my mother-in-law, and she was a fantastic, I don't mind if Mandy becomes like her, because she was such a gentle, loving, kind woman, and Mandy's already like that. Often I've said to Mandy, that reminds me just of your mom in a positive way. But be careful of saying stuff like that, because you don't say, you're just like your mother, you're just like your father, and things like that, because that's not helpful. But look at the way, because if your mother-in-law is not doing well, then you need to look at it. If there's a struggles and all those kind of things, there's always complaining and moaning and all that kind of stuff, that's probably what's going to happen. And if your guy treats his mother disrespectfully and doesn't speak to her very well, he's going to be like that to you. Even if he doesn't do it now, it'll come out later. Because remember, when you're dating, everything's, we both, on our best behavior, and we're trying to impress and do things. And so many times I've had girls say to me, when we were dating, he bought me stuff and did this and this. He's such a romantic. Now, the last time I got flowers was when we were dating, kind of thing. So just watch out for that. Would you be embarrassed to introduce him to your friends or to your pastor? Ask yourself that question. Ask yourself if this is an interesting one. Ask yourself if this is the type of person you want to represent you. That when your husband to your wife is out there, they're representing you, because everybody knows that Mandy's married to me, I'm married to Mandy. So when I'm out there, I'm representing the base name. I'm representing my family. So is that person the person you want to represent you? A good question. Okay, we're nearly done. Make sure that you have dealt with as much of your personal baggage before getting married. That's I can't emphasize that enough, is that deal with as much of your own baggage as possible. Because remember that any unresolved issue from your past is always going to interfere with your present. So if you haven't dealt with unresolved issues from your past before, when you're a kid, hurts from your past, unresolved relationships, broken relationships, all those kind of stuff. If you haven't dealt with that stuff, it's going to creep in. If you've got rejection and pain and hurt from previous relationships, if you've been let down and mistrust because your previous boyfriend or girlfriend broke your heart because they cheated on you, if you don't deal with that, you're going to put that onto your spouse. You're not going to trust them. You're not going to believe them when they tell you stuff, and that's going to cause major problems. Deal with as much baggage as you can. Don't let that stuff interfere in your marriage. Find someone you can talk to and deal with it. Get rid of it. Pray through it. Break it. Find out how do they handle money and debt. Are they generous or are they stingy? Check that out, because that's one of the biggest causes of fighting and issues in marriage is money. You look at that. It tells you that. Statistics tell you that, or read any material will tell you that. What does their future look like? Just look at... If you had to project them into the future, what are their plans? What are their goals? What are they aiming for? What are they wanting to do? I mean, if they're kind of like hairy-fairy all over the place, and you've got to think, hey, hold on a second. Remember that you might think that this is quite intense, like, yes, I've got to do all these kind of things. But remember, you've got to be with this person for the rest of your life. You're planning your whole life, the next 20, 30 years. Do you want to go in and kind of like, oh, this is nice? Or do you want to say, no, hold on a second, what are our goals? What are our dreams? What is our future? Think about it. How do they handle their temper and their anger? How do they deal with it? Do they punch stuff? Do they throw things? Do they finish what they start? Or are there like hundreds of unfinished projects all over the place? And then the last one. Here's a good one. Couples that pray and read their Bibles together daily Their divorce rate is 1 in a million. Now, no, I mean, Mandy and I don't even read our Bible together and pray every day together. Okay, so, but if you want to have a strong marriage, you need to be doing that on a regular basis. At the very least, you need to be praying for your spouse on a daily basis. Now, here's the thing. Go to my website, Repairer Counseling, with double L, Repairer Counseling, counseling with double L, .za.net. Go to downloads. In the downloads, you'll see there's prayer calendars for men, and there's a prayer diary for women. Take those, print those out. They're free to print them out, and pray for your spouse every day. Well, I hope this was good and you enjoyed it. If you did, please like it and share it. Do with it what you like. And thank you for watching, and I'll chat to you again.